Let's look at some of the basic poly modeling tools I like to use in my workflow. I'm going to create a simple sphere. And convert it to editable poly. So the tools you have available change depending on the sub-object you have selected. For example, if I select vertices, the tools are different than if I select edges or polygons. Some of the tools are the same, but there are some differences. Let's start with the vertices. First tool I want to show you is the connect tool. If you have some two vertices you want to connect, and they are on the sides of the same polygon and there are no edges between them, you can connect them by using the connect tool. Just click it and the connection is created. If you want to connect two vertices that have an edge between them, it's not gonna work. You can click as many times as you like, but there will be no result here. So in this situation, you would use the cut tool. Cut tool is an easy way to create some additional geometry. Okay. You can cut between two vertices, two edges, or just cut in any shape you like on the polygons. So this is a very useful tool and has many applications. And one thing you might need to keep in mind when using the cut tool is that it works depending on your viewport alignment. For example, if I cut an edge between these two vertices from this viewport rotation and then rotate like this and cut an edge between the same two vertices, the result will be different. Okay, it creates a straight line depending on how your viewport is rotated. So keep that in mind when using the cut tool. Right. So another thing you might want to do with vertices is weld them together. For example, I want to weld these two vertices together to create the one vertex here. If I click on the weld tool, nothing is going to happen because the vertices are too far from each other. If I click on the settings button here and increase the weld threshold, once it's larger than the distance between the vertices become welded together. You can weld them also by using the target weld tool. The regular weld tool will weld the vertices so the resulting vertex is between them or exactly in the middle, but the target weld tool works a bit differently. You can select the first vertex and weld it to a target. Or you can go the other way around and weld to this vertex here. So depending on where you want your resulting vertex to be, you can use the target weld or the regular weld tool. Okay. You can also extrude vertices. So if you click on the settings button, you can adjust the height and the width of the base. Okay, you can extrude a positive value or a negative value to move the vertex in. Right, so I sometimes use a technique where I increase the width so much that it reaches the next vertex on the edge. Sometimes a very useful technique, but there is one side effect for this. The vertices get pushed so far that they are occupying the same space as the next vertices in line. So even though it appears that there is one vertex here, if you look here you will notice that it says two vertices selected. And if you just click and move one of them, you will see that it is in fact true and there are two vertices in the same spot. So if you use the technique where you push the vertices to the next ones, you might want to select all of them, pressing Ctrl A, and weld them with a 0 threshold, and you can see that it welds these vertices together. Now when you click here, you will see that it says just vertex 66 selected. Okay, if they are not pushed exactly to the edge, you can increase the weld threshold to something very small like 0.01. And it's going to be pretty much the same effect. Right. Just going to reset my sphere. And let's move on to the edges. So the tools for edges are a bit different, and what I want to show you is the selection tools first. I just have some very handy selection tools, and they are named ring and loop. So they work like this. You select a single edge, press loop, and it selects the whole loop of the edges. The ring works pretty much in a similar way, but selects the edge ring instead. You can use them together, for example, to select all the loops that are going horizontally or all the loops that are going vertically. So one thing you need to keep in mind when using the ring and the loop selection tools is that they only work if the vertices on the edge have 4 edges going out of them. If we add another edge here and another edge here and try to select this loop, it's not going to select the edge between them, because once it reaches the vertex with more than 4 edges or with less than 4 edges coming out of it, it gets confused and it doesn't select the loop. And if you select the central edge here, it's not going to work at all. The loop gets broken right here and right here, so it's not extending anymore. Okay, it's the same for the ring. Right, another useful selection feature of the edges is that you can select some edges and convert your selection to faces or to vertices. This is sometimes pretty useful, and I'm gonna probably show you some situations later on. You can also do it in a different way by control clicking here in the selection tab. For example, I control click on the vertices, it selects the vertices. And if I control click on the polygons, it selects the polygons. Control click on the element and it's going to select the whole element. Okay, so those are the selection tools. Let's move on to the modeling tools. So you have your extrude. Again, it works in a similar way that the vertex extrusion worked. You have your height. You can use a positive value or a negative value, and you have your width. Okay, and there is another way you can use the extrusion for edges. You set your height to 0 and adjust the width. This creates a duplicate of the edge on top and on bottom, basically on the both sides of it. So this is pretty useful when you want to create some hard creases on objects. For example, if I move the edges pretty close together and add the Turbo Smooth modifier, you will see a crease here. So what you're doing is basically creating the 3 control edges needed for Turbo Smooth to calculate the radius, and as you adjust the width, you can change the amount of roundness. Right, so that's the extrude tool. You also have the chamfer tool. What this does is basically splits the edge into 2, and if you increase the segments, it creates some more edges between the 2, but you can't keep the original shape. It becomes rounded like this. So if the extrude left a nice sharp corner, the chamfer will always round it like this. Right. So another useful feature for the edges is the bridge tool. For example, if we have a hole here, you can select these 2 edges and use the bridge tool to create a polygon between them. And the hole is closed and the new polygon is created. Alright, let's move on. You have your connect tool. Connect tool basically connects the edges by using the midpoints. It selects the center of the edge, creates a vertex there, select the center of the second edge, creates a vertex there, and makes an edge between them. And again, if you have another edge between the edges you want to connect, it's not gonna work. But if you select them like this, you can use the connect tool. Okay, if you bring up the connect tool settings, you will see 2 very useful features. The first is the slide. You can slide your resulting edge up or down. And the second one is the pinch. You will see that it does nothing with the default settings, but if you increase the segments to 2, you can use it to pinch them out or bring them together. And you can even slide the resulting edges all together. Right, you can use even more segments, and it works the same way. Okay, one more thing I want to show you with edges is create shape from selection. For example, if I want to create a shape from these edges, I simply click this button, set it to linear, and it automatically creates a spline from these edges. And now you can do whatever you need with the spline. For example, you can give it a profile, you can extrude it or convert to editable poly, use it as a profile or extrude another line along it. So basically the options are pretty much unlimited. Okay, so that's basically it for the edges. Let's move on to the polygons. Okay, again you have your extrude. Okay, if we select more than one polygon, we can use some options like group, local normal, or by polygon. So if you select by polygon, it's going to create the extrusions from each polygon separately. You select the group, it will select them all and extrude them together without distorting the shape. And if you select local normal, it will extrude them together by using the local normals of each polygon, and this will probably make the resulting shape larger than the original polygons, or smaller depending on how your normals are oriented. Okay, you also have the bevel tool. It's pretty similar to extrude, but you have another option here, and it's called the outline. And what this does, it allows you to scale the resulting polys larger or smaller, and you can get some neat effects by using it in combination with the height option. Okay. Next comes the inset. It does exactly what it says it does. Again, you have your options by polygon or the group, and it basically insets the polys by the amount you set in this box here. Okay, then you have your bridge. You can use it to create some tunnels in your object, or you can create an external bridge as well. For example, I'm going to bridge these two polys together, and it creates a nice connecting bridge between them. Okay. So collapse is another useful tool, and what it does is basically selects all the vertices around the polygon and welds them together. It works the same way for the edges as well. It's sometimes useful to make your geometry more simple, less complicated. For example, if I want to collapse this edge ring, I'll ring it, collapse it, and our object now has less polys and the shape is more simple. Okay, another useful tool is slice plane. If you click on the slice plane, it activates this gizmo here. You can move it, rotate it, position it where you like, and once you find the correct spot, just click slice. Okay. Make sure your poly selection is empty, you don't have any polys selected when you use it. Click slice. Okay, another useful tool I forgot to mention for the edges and vertices is the slice plane. Alright, I'm gonna activate the slice plane. And you get this gizmo here, you can rotate it, move it around, go to perspective view, rotate some more, and basically what it does, it creates a perfect slice along this plane here. And once you're satisfied with the position of the slice plane, you click the slice button and it creates the geometry. You can also activate the split option here before clicking the slice button, and your object will be split into two elements. Quick Slice tool works in a similar way, but you don't have a gizmo to move around. You simply click in two places and it slices along those and creates a plane between them. It's very useful for adding some more geometry, more edges, more vertices. Okay. So those are the basic tools I like to use when poly modeling.